Hello, you're listening to Count Richard von Coudenhove Kalergi. Today is Sunday, the 6th of September, and I just thought for my subscribers that don't live outside in Dublin or even outside of Ireland, I thought I'd give you a little spin around the Dublin mountains there. So we're just up where the Capure mast is, and we're heading into the Glencree Valley from the Sally Gap direction. And so here we go. On this day in 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail from La Gomera in the Canary Islands before crossing the Atlantic to the New World, a journey he made 3 further times before he died in 1506 at the age of 54. The Canary Islands are named after dogs, as when the Romans first settled there in the 1st century AD, the island was populated by big dogs rather than birds, as may be expected with a name like that. And on this day in 1901, President William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, was shot in Buffalo, New York, and died 8 days later of his injuries. He was a Republican, and he was the last president to have served during the Civil War, joining the Union Army as a private. And his assassin was of Polish origins, was a steel worker, was 28 years old, was executed on the 29th of October by electric chair the same year. He had waited in line for 20 minutes until President McKinley to shake his hand, and when he went to shake his hand, the assassin slapped his hand out of the way, produced a gun and shot him twice, and he died of his injuries. Now, as you know, I like aircraft, and I think it's only fitting that I include this on this day. In 1952, a prototype de Havilland twin-engined fighter jet called the DH-110 crashed after completing a manoeuvre that included going through the sound barrier at the air show in Farnborough, and it was flown by squadron leader John Derry, and rather tragically, as the plane disintegrated, it broke up into parts and flew into the crowd and killed 31 people, including the 2 crew of the plane, and injured 60. Now, that particular type of aircraft went on to fly with the Fleet Air Arm from 1959 until the 1970s, when it was retired, and it was called the Havilland Sea Vixen. And I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman down in Barrow Street last year who actually flew one of these things, and there was one flying up until 2017, where unfortunately it was retired after, I think, somewhere in the region of 140 of them being built. I just want to go back, if I may, to Dublin Airport during the week when I saw that reporter wearing a mask. I thought it was unusual that although she was wearing a mask, neither the sound engineer nor the cameraman were wearing masks. Just a little bit of Aer Lingus itself. Its first flight was in 1936 from Baldonnel to Bristol in de Havilland, yet again, aircraft de Havilland Draken, with a crew of 2 and passengers. It could take 6 passengers. Now, interesting enough, Baldonnel was one of a group of airports that were built by the Royal Flying Corps, I think in 1916. Another one was, the remains of it can be seen behind the drive-through behind the Burger King there in Tala. Strangely enough, so some of the outbuildings are actually still there. And also, just to talk about Dublin Airport itself, I remember as a child getting out onto the ramp. My father knew somebody out there, and I got a chance to look at that constellation. I know George was talking about that the other day. And also I got a chance to see a B-25 Mitchell bomber, which was used in the film Hanover Street, which starred, I think, Harrison Ford and Leslie Ann Down, as the aircraft became unserviceable, and spent a number of years there on the ramp. But just to comment on, like, why was the reporter actually wearing a mask outside, and is it just to send a message to your viewers? And I said, can you imagine creating a situation more damaging than any military event or campaign, getting to destroy countries without firing a single shot or dropping one bomb, unlike in Laos, where 2 million bombs were dropped by the Americans in an 11-year campaign, which is more bombs dropped than the whole of the Second World War combined. Now wars are fought between international banking institutions over the control of a country's debt. And also to see Stephen Donnelly sitting in the convention centre wearing a mask with no one around him is just a joke. And I wonder, is he hoping to get an invitation to next year's Bilderberg event, an event which has been attended from Gareth Fitzgerald in the 1980s to Peter Sutherland, Charlie McCreevy, Dennis O'Brien, Michael O'Leary and Pascal Donoghue on numerous occasions. Simon Coveney famously filmed back in 2014 with Peter Sutherland in Copenhagen, and Michael Noonan was there a couple of times as well. So I think he's definitely nailing his colours to the mast for the New World Order. And all this fueling of fear, as the quality of life for so many people has been turned completely upside down, and a complete attack on humanity. And I think it's only fitting for a quote from Norman Cousins, who said that death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside of us when we live. And where are the writers and artists and satirists to point out all this, and the comedians? Surely to God, this is the greatest source of material ever. An alternative point of view and aspiring speeches, nothing, only fear that comes from the odd few. Tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of the London Blitz that lasted for a total of 55 days and killed 30,000 people and injured 60. But I was listening to the CBS reporter at the time, who was Edward R. Murrow, commenting on what it was like from the top of St. Paul's Cathedral, looking down on London when it was actually on fire. So interesting this week as well that there was a couple of marches during the week. We had the protest outside Bray for Gemma regarding the police. We had the protest for the elderly, a treatment of the elderly in the nursing homes. So things are starting definitely to heating up a bit. I think more and more people are starting to cop on, you know. And yes, you think this year in March the 9th, the then Taoiseach at the time predicted up to 85,000 deaths as a worst case scenario. So it's about time people start to cop on that there's more to this than meets the eye. And I think I will end with a quote from Edward R. Murrow, who said that a nation of sheep begets a government of wolves. And that's what I think we have at the moment now. So I'm just coming up here over the Featherbed Mountains, heading in the direction of Dublin now. And so thanks for listening. Good night, good luck, and God bless.